I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to do everything I can to be feeling extra well and super well on that night, to be able to impose my rhythm, impose my game plan, and come out with the win.
Daniel Cormier didn't mince words when talking about Alex Pereira's upcoming rematch with Magomed Ankalaev.
Squared stance and backing up.
Cormier insisted that the Brazilian can't afford to be on the back foot again and must press forward right from the start if he wants to reclaim the light heavyweight crown. For Cormier, Pereira has to set the tone early and force Ankalaev to respect his striking power instead of allowing the Russian to dictate the pace like he did in their first fight.
I think, as you said, it didn't feel like there was going to be much of a difference. But what did feel different was Alex wrestled much better than we expected him to. He defended takedowns much better than we expected him to. He was not ground to the ground. Now it's up to him, Plinio and Glover, and we have seen him come up with game plans before, to make it to where Alex can actually go get it done and not get pressed against the octagon. That's where the difference has to happen, Chill. He wasn't taken down, but he was controlled. So he was controlled in the clinch last time. He was backed up the entire time. How does he move forward without Ankalaev actually pressing into him? I think he needs to get some respect from him very early, Chael, to make Ankalaev take a few steps back. Because right now, Ankalaev has been in there with him, and he'll have more confidence that he can handle the power of Pereira than he did going into fight one. The unknown is the scariest thing in fighting. Man, everybody this guy hits, he puts down or he bludgeons them. Now he knows he went 25 minutes and that didn't happen to him.
That message resonated because many fans felt Pereira's downfall at UFC 313 wasn't about his wrestling, which held up better than expected, but rather the fact that he was pushed backward for most of the fight. Ankalaev was in control, keeping him stuck against the fence, and while Pereira wasn't taken down repeatedly, he never managed to seize momentum. The rematch at UFC 320 offers him the chance to flip that script.
This guy's been golden for us in regards to stepping up and fighting. But he's plus 150 against Ankalaev, and Ankalaev's minus 180. Chill, I got a question. Are you surprised at the line being that close? Because what we saw in the first fight, it didn't seem like Alex had much for him in regards to answers for stopping Ankalaev from pressing him up against the octagon.
It was a hard fight, and I will tell you that Alex won the first round. That's according to the judges, not just according to me. And then he proceeded to lose the next four. Listen, when that contest was over, I didn't think that any reasonable analysis could come to the conclusion that if they did it again, we would get a different outcome. There was also a little bit of a resistance by the fight. This was billed a little bit differently. It seemed like the UFC was on board, but it was Ankalaev that was going and picking the fight with Alex. It was Ankalaev that was challenging him, calling him out. And I only wonder, generally when a fighter will do that when he's the champion, when the champion starts calling somebody out, particularly a guy that he just beat, it's because his own social media, his own world, the bubble that he lives in, people are disputing it. People are telling, hey, you couldn't do it again. Hey, Alex was hurt. Hey, he fought 4 times in 9 months. Try doing it again. Something like that must have happened to Ankalaev. So I think that the audience perhaps saw it a little bit different than I did. But a lot of times I learned something from the audience. So I'm very open to this idea. But Daniel, how are we going to get Pereira to heavyweight? That's my question. And when he moved up to 205, people kind of misremember this. They think he ran through 85 so much we'll let him go. But that's actually wrong. He lost. He lost is the reason that he was able to move up. And I only share with you, if he loses to Ankalaev, I believe he will be a heavyweight. But I just believe that's the spot we're in right now. He just lost Ankalaev. He doesn't have a belt. I kind of wanted to see him.
Pereira is treating this fight as an opportunity to rewrite his story. He admitted that the loss in March was a tough pill to swallow, but he's now laser focused on bouncing back. Scheduled for October 4th in Las Vegas, the bout promises fireworks as both men have a lot on the line. Pereira believes that with his team behind him, especially coaches like Plinio Cruz and Glover Teixeira, he can make the adjustments needed to reclaim his belt. His mindset is clear. He wants to impose his rhythm and not allow Ankalaev to control the fight like last time.
Back to Magomed, when you see the footage of him going home with the belt that was yours, and all the hoopla and stuff, how does that make you feel?
People say that he won, people say that he lost, people say that I win, like very contested, right? Why you don't give it a draw and a left to the belt?
So you are very motivated to get the belt back.
Absolutely. I can't wait for this moment to happen again, and it's going to be a very different fight. That day was not the same Alex Pereira, so if come the regular Alex Pereira, it's already more than that. But imagine now if it's different. It doesn't have to be a knockout, but I feel that I have enough game to do whatever I want with this guy.
While Pereira is often seen as a striker first, it was interesting that he surprised fans with his grappling defense in their first encounter. Many expected him to struggle heavily on the ground, but he showed improvement and avoided being dominated there. Still, Ankalaev's pressure and ability to close distance left him reacting instead of leading. Cormier's advice about pushing forward early is essentially about forcing Ankalaev into uncomfortable exchanges before he sets his own pace.
In the aftermath of the fight, I saw his coach accuse you of greasing. When Magomed pushed him to the fence near a corner, it seemed to me that Pereira was greased with something. Ankalaev said afterwards that he smelled like he had ointment. Have you seen this? And if so, what is your response to this accusation?
Absolutely, put enough in my body. The way that his coach is putting on this sound for me, that he's trying to make an excuse to justify the fact that he trained a guy to take me down, but the guy got stuff about his takedown attempts.
Does that piss you off, that accusation?
I never did nothing that I was not supposed to, but I always did everything by the book. And that's why everything works so good in my career.
Behind the scenes, Pereira also had plenty to say about how this rematch came together. He explained that negotiations for the fight were actually quite smooth and leaned heavily in his favor. According to him, Ankalaev had little say in how things unfolded. The Russian wanted to fight sooner, even calling for a defense in July, but the UFC ended up granting Pereira time to recover from injuries and schedule the fight when it suited him best. This only fueled Ankalaev's frustration, and he took to social media to vent. He accused Pereira of bringing in taxi drivers to help him prepare for takedown defense and mocked his training approach. Pereira didn't bother engaging with the trash talk. He brushed it off, suggesting that Ankalaev constantly uses his name to stay relevant. To him, the insults are meaningless. He feels the Dagestani champion only gains attention when he's linked to him, which is why he avoids responding. Instead, Pereira is focused entirely on his preparation and ensuring that he's in peak condition come fight night.
It doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't make a difference. You know, the fact is that nobody knows that he's a champion.
The first fight between them left an unresolved tension. Ankalaev took the unanimous decision, but for Pereira, it wasn't the end of the rivalry. He believes he didn't perform to his full potential, and that 7 months of focused training will make all the difference.
Ankalaev taking on Alex Pereira. I felt it was very anticlimactic. Like when the fight was over, I was like, God, that was it? Was that 5 rounds? So is it over? And when I think like that, I feel that Ankalaev played a very, very smart strategy game. Meaning that when you look at Alex Pereira, he has 2 ways to go about his fight. And look at all his fight, either from the Sean Strickland to the Izzy Adesanya to Khalil Rountree, Yuri Prohaska, both those fights. Look at all those fights. It always starts off by the leg kick. He wants a reaction.
Pereira's confidence has grown, and he even went as far as to suggest that a loss for Ankalaev this time could mark the end of his title aspirations altogether. From Pereira's perspective, if Ankalaev loses, it's unlikely the UFC will give him another shot anytime soon.
I think the story will be over. You know, it's obviously out of my control. It's up to the UFC, and if they want to do it again, I mean, I'll fight anyone. But, you know, to be honest, you know, from everything we've seen, I think with him losing, he's not going to fight for the title anymore.
That's a bold claim considering Ankalaev has only 1 official loss in his entire career. The Dagestani fighter built his way up with a 9-fight winning streak after dropping his UFC debut to Paul Craig back in 2018. Even then, he was seconds away from winning before being submitted at the last moment. Since then, Ankalaev's rise has been steady, marked by a mix of dominant performances and controversial moments. He even had a title shot against Jan Blachowicz in 2022 that ended in a split draw, which stalled his climb for over 2 years before finally capturing the belt against Pereira. For Ankalaev, this rematch isn't just about defending the title, it's about proving his first win wasn't a fluke. He's been active on social media, continuing to poke fun at Pereira. He even vowed to send the Brazilian back to his old job at a tire shop, mocking his humble beginnings before his glory days in kickboxing and MMA. However, Pereira hasn't allowed himself to be dragged into these verbal wars. He remains focused, calm, and determined. His history in combat sports shows he thrives under pressure. After all, this is the same man who dethroned Israel Adesanya in just his 4th UFC fight, proving that he could rise to the occasion when the spotlight was brightest. Even after losing the belt in the Adesanya rematch, Pereira didn't dwell on setbacks. He moved up to light heavyweight, captured another title, and successfully defended it 3 times in a year before falling to Ankalaev. That resilience is what gives him confidence that he can bounce back again.
Are you upping the wrestling training? Are you doing more wrestling training in this training camp?
And if he's training the same as always trained, a lot of wrestling in our training. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. That's what built him to be who he is in the UFC. It was Glover style of wrestling, the way that he trained. Even guys go, oh, he keep his hands down, look at his head. Okay, but go and try to hit his head on the fight, see if it's hard, see if you can. You know what I mean? So he just showed things that he wants to show. He's always focused on the wrestling for the MMA training, not only the strike. It's been almost 4 years that he's around here now training wrestling like that, you know what I mean? But that's since day one. He was already an outstanding striker. So Glover helped to put all the grappling together, to put the takedown defense, to put everything, right? So he's constantly trying to evolve.
Interestingly, Pereira has already downplayed the idea of a trilogy fight. He stated that once this rematch is over, the story between him and Ankalaev will be finished, regardless of the outcome. If he wins, he doesn't believe the UFC will give Ankalaev another chance. If he loses, he accepts whatever the UFC decides, but he isn't obsessed with turning this into a long-running rivalry. For him, this fight is about redemption, not building a saga.
We're on a scale, and I think it said something like 240. You obviously fight in the light heavyweight division. How much do you weigh now?
Around 230, 235. So that's the what he usually do. Even for middleweight, he got to weigh 230 at one point.
Wow. Was there any consideration before you took this fight about fighting at heavyweight?
No, absolutely none. Just took some break, training hard, training heavy, gain some muscle, gain some size, but all folks for this. For middleweight, people ask like going light heavyweight, he's here to say like I wanna listen to my body. When it's becoming harder, so the same way goes here. Eventually, if that gets harder for me to go light heavyweight, I'm gonna go heavyweight.
Not everyone is convinced that Pereira has what it takes this time. Rising light heavyweight Zhang Mingyang, who has made waves with his knockout power, recently gave his own take. He argued that Pereira has lost the hunger that once drove him, pointing to his immense wealth as a reason for his supposed decline in motivation. In his view, fighters who achieve massive financial success often lose the edge that made them dangerous in the first place. He compared it to what happened with Conor McGregor, who, after becoming one of the richest athletes in the sport, saw his career decline drastically, managing just 1 win in nearly a decade.
Who do you think wins that fight? What's your prediction for the title fight?
Yeah, I think still Ankalaev can defend his title because I think Pereira is not as motivated as before. So, I mean, if we can get the old Pereira back, he's still the, let's say, the better striker than Ankalaev. But for now, if he still fought like the way like he fought last fight, I think Ankalaev can still win this fight.
Why do you think there's a lack of motivation there, in your opinion?
Because he has earned too much money. He's too rich. I think it's no matter who you are, as a fighter or as a human being, if you are too rich, you are just like a kind of lack of motivation, as when you are young, when you are poor, when you are hungry. I think that's normal.
While critics like Zhang question his drive, Pereira's preparation tells another story. He has had 7 months since the loss to Ankalaev, which is a significant stretch of time for someone who usually fights on shorter turnarounds. This extended camp has allowed him to recover, improve, and focus on crafting a game plan specifically tailored to beat Ankalaev. He hasn't made excuses for the last fight, acknowledging that it was a mix of factors that led to the loss. What matters now is using that experience to come back sharper.
Recently, actually, Joe Rogan said that you had a hand injury and you were dealing with the norovirus before the fight. Is any of this true?
I'd not try to take credit from Ankalaev. Many people try to do that kind of thing. I'm not this type of guy. I'm sure he had his own problems too. I had mine. My hand is fine, but it did happen a lot of things, but I don't want to use that as an excuse. I don't want to use this as leverage for anything. My moment's going to come to win the belt, and then I can disclose everything for you guys.
Were any of the issues big enough to where he considered not fighting?
It's one of the more complicated from everything that happened.
Wow.
As the fight draws closer, the tension between the two continues to escalate. Cormier's assessment only adds fuel to the conversation. Many fans agree that Pereira must come out aggressively and put Ankalaev on the back foot. If he doesn't, the fight risks playing out in a similar way to their first meeting, with the champion controlling the exchanges and walking away with another decision win. The stakes couldn't be higher. For Pereira, a win means redemption and a return to the top of the division. For Ankalaev, a victory solidifies his reign and potentially ends Pereira's hopes of ever regaining the crown. Both men understand the magnitude of the moment and both have plenty to prove. UFC 320 on October 4th is shaping up to be one of the most anticipated cards of the year. The clash between Pereira and Ankalaev represents more than just a title defense. It's a battle of pride, redemption, and legacy. Whether it ends in a brutal knockout, a grinding decision, or something unexpected, fans know they're in for a high-stakes showdown.